Hello world, Natasha here. Get ready to decrypt some jargon with me. Today we embark on the riveting topic that is corporate structure. So, if you're starting a business, one of the first decisions you'll face is choosing the right corporate structure. And whether you're in Canada or in the US, the options can be overwhelming. You have the LLC, the C Corp, the S Corp, the sole proprietorship, the partnership. The alphabet soup of business entities can make anyone's head spin. So, we are going to break down the most common business structures in both Canada and in the US, explain what they actually mean, and help you understand the key differences without drowning in jargon. So, buckle up. Here we go. First, let's talk about what a corporation actually is. We throw around that word. Let's make sure we start on equal footing and we all are comfortable with that definition. A corporation in legal terms is a separate legal entity from its owners. So think of it as creating a business person that's not human, but some other thing that lives on its own. It exists independently, okay? It can own property. It can enter into contracts. It can sue and it can be sued. And it pays taxes separate from you personally. The main benefit to the corporation generally is this idea of limited liability protection. So if your business gets sued or goes into debt, your personal assets like your house or your car remain generally protected, which is why everyone loves a good corp. Okay, let's talk about US business structures now. The simplest business structure in the US is actually the opposite of the corporation. It is the sole proprietorship. It's where you and your business are legally the same entity. So you report your business income and your losses on your personal tax return. And unfortunately, you have unlimited personal liability, which means your personal assets are at risk. But it is easy and inexpensive to set up, and it's great for simple, low-risk businesses like freelancing or consulting. Okay, the LLC, the limited liability company, is really special. It's a hybrid structure that combines elements of corporations and partnerships, which we'll talk about in a sec. So the key feature of the LLC is limited liability protection for its owners that we call members, okay? So they get a special name. There's a flexible management structure and something called pass-through taxation. So your profits and losses for the business flow to its members' personal returns. You can have an unlimited number of members, and honestly, it's relatively simple to maintain. So this is great for small to medium businesses that want liability protection, but they want some tax flexibility. All right, the C Corp. Here we get into the alphabet, the C Corporation. This is the most traditional structure. It creates that separate legal entity that we talked about at the beginning of the video. It has the strongest liability protection, and you can raise capital by selling stock. It also has something called double taxation. So this is where the corporation pays its own taxes, and shareholders also have to pay taxes on dividends. The downside to the C Corp is that there are extensive record-keeping requirements, and so this is great for larger businesses that are planning to raise significant capital or to go public. All right, the S Corp. So the S Corp is actually a special tax election for corporations that allows that pass-through taxation, kind of like the LLCs. The difference is that it's limited to 100 shareholders, all of whom must be U.S. citizens or residents. It only allows one class of stock, and owners who work in the business have to pay themselves reasonable salaries. So it's a little bit more restrictive than the C Corp. But it's great for small to medium businesses who want a corporate structure with that pass-through taxation. Okay, the partnership. A partnership is kind of like a marriage. It's a business owned by two or more people that share everything: profits, losses, and responsibilities. You get the pass-through taxation, but you also get that shared liability. So it can be general or limited. And then you have almost like a prenup, a partnership agreement that governs operations. So each partner also will report their share on their personal tax returns. This is great for professional services or businesses with multiple active owners. All right, Now for Canada. So Canada also has that sole proprietorship, very similar to what we have in the US, where you and your business are the same legal entity. Again, simplest structure to set up, unlimited personal liability though, and you report that business income on your personal tax return. A little bit different in Canada is that you may need to register your business name provincially. We'll talk about that in a moment, but again, best for simple, low-risk businesses. The partnership. Like we said in the US, it's that marriage, that two or more people who carry on business together. You can have general partnerships with unlimited liability or limited partnerships that allow some partners to have limited liability. You get pass-through taxation, but unlike in the US, the partnership agreement, that prenup, while always recommended in my opinion, is not always required. It's best for professional practices, small businesses with multiple owners, just like in the US. The Canadian corporation, not an S Corp, not a C Corp, just the Corp. So it is that separate legal entity that we spoke about at the beginning of the video, but it's either federal or provincial, and so there's two ways of doing a possible incorporation. The key features for both are, again, that limited liability protection for shareholders. You get corporate tax rates, which means that they're often lower than personal rates for small businesses. You can retain earnings in the corporation, but again, you have those more complex compliance requirements. And as I said, you can be incorporated federally, which is Canada-wide, or provincially. If it's federal, that means your name is automatically protected across Canada and you can operate in all the provinces. If it's provincial, which is also a little bit lower cost, it's great if you're a little bit simpler of an operation in terms of operating in one province only. This is best for businesses who want that liability protection as well as some personal tax advantages. Now, the key differences between Canadian and the US, well, I want to say that there's probably, maybe four major ones. The first being that simplicity versus complexity. Okay, so in Canada, you have a simpler system with fewer entity types. In the US, you get way more variety, but also more complexity in choosing and maintaining your structures. The cool thing about the US is they have the LLC that Canada does not have. I repeat, Canada does not have an LLC, no matter what anyone's told you. So the closest equivalent in Canada is a corporation, but it doesn't offer the same tax flexibility that an LLC does in the US. So sorry, Canada. As far as tax treatment, that's another big difference. So in Canada, small business corporations get preferential tax rates, and there's personal and corporate tax integration designed to be roughly equivalent, and there's no S Corp election, unfortunately. In the US, it's the opposite. So you have more tax elections available, the S Corp, the LLC that we're jealous of, and you get greater variation in tax treatment between the structures, but you also have state taxes that can add another layer of complexity. And then both have professional restrictions that may differ. So lawyers, doctors, accountants, certain professionals may have special additional restrictions based on, what structures they use. So for example, in Ontario, if lawyers want a corporation, they need to form what's called a professional corporation. So it's a little bit different. So how about, decision making? How do I make the decision? So many structures, so many letters in the alphabet. How do I choose what works for me? Well, ask yourself some really simple questions. First, what is your tolerance for risk? So how much personal asset protection do you actually need? Think about tax consideration. What's your expected income level and your tax situation? What about growth plans? So think about your dreams. Do you plan to raise capital or bring in investors? What about complexity tolerance? How much of an administrative burden can you handle? Because some have way more than others. And then location. Where will you operate? In a particular state or province, across the country, or across borders? Some general guidelines from me. First, start simple. Many businesses begin as sole proprietorships and evolve as they grow. Nothing wrong with that. Also, very important, consider professional advice. Tax and legal implications vary significantly based on your specific situation and where you live. So get advice from a professional, absolutely. And then again, plan for growth. Choose a structure that can accommodate your business's evolution, that can accommodate your dreams. The bottom line is that choosing the right business structure is one of the most important decisions you'll make as an entrepreneur. And the best choice doesn't depend on what your friend did, but on your specific circumstances, your risk tolerance, your tax situation, and your growth plans. For US entrepreneurs, you have way more options, but also more complexity. So consider starting with simpler structures and evolve as needed. For Canadians, your choices are more straightforward, but don't overlook the benefits of incorporation for liability protection and also for potential tax advantages. And for everyone, no matter what country you live in, this is where professional advice is definitely worth the investment. So a good accountant and lawyer can help you navigate the specifics of your situation and avoid costly mistakes down the road. Big thanks to The Holy Vagabond for suggesting this topic for this video. If you have any jargon, either in technology or law, that you'd like decrypted, let me know in the comments.